A very good evening to you all. Thank you for joining us for this evening press conference with Zimbabwe coach Dave Houghton. As usual, just to remind everybody to please ensure that your monitors are muted if you're online, and to please put your intention to write or to ask a question on the chat panel, or to raise your hand if you're unable to do either or. We're going to start with the gentlemen that are on site here at the stadium. Nathan, you can kick us off. Oh, sorry. My bad. For once, yes.
Hi, Dave. Congratulations.
Thank you.
A year ago, Zimbabwe weren't even allowed to play the ICC T20 World Cup because they were suspended. Now, 12 months on, they topped the group in the first round, in a group that also included the West Indies. Just sum up how you're feeling at the moment.
Oh, obviously, we're over the moon. When I took over in June or so for the qualifiers in Bulawayo, the biggest and main objective was to get here. We got here having won 5 of those games, and they were as pressurized as any game because each game was like a cup final. So we had some sort of experience of playing a game with as much on it as this one was today. But still, it's a fantastic feeling getting here and getting through. I did say to the guys before we left home that it was nice that we qualified to be here, but that's not our main objective. Our main objective is to get through and then cause as much damage in the Super 12s as we can.
And to that end, you also said in an interview, and a lot of interviews really, that there's no consequences for playing aggressive shots as long as the intent behind them was right. At times, maybe it looked like Zimbabwe played a few too many aggressive shots against the West Indies. So I just wondered how you struck that balancing act today.
We didn't really talk a lot about the West Indies. I mean, I summed up that game against the West Indies, and I'm sure there were millions of people watching who could sum it up the same way. That was some of the best fast bowling we've played against for many years. Joseph and the big tall man, his name escapes at the moment. Yeah, Holder. They bowled unbelievably well. They hit the stump 7 times, 6 of those with toe-breaking Yorkers. So I wasn't worried by the way we played against the West Indies. I thought we did well in the field, and they won the game with their bowlers. So going into today's game, I wanted us to play the same way, and I'm excited by the fact that our players will continue to do it. Win or lose, and in a cutthroat game like today, where we could be going home at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, or we can be staying in the hotel overnight and prepare for the next round. So it was a tough game, and our guys are happy to keep playing that way. And I want us to keep playing that way. It's the only way we'll improve.
You also said recently that you didn't want to be drawn in on Zimbabwe's long-term plans because you are right now focused on this World Cup. But what sort of impact do you think this has on Zimbabwe in the next 12 months, 24 months?
Well, I can tell you the last 4 months already has had a huge impact. The fan base at home, I get back now and I'm 2 or 3 hours on my phone just answering messages of congratulations, which we got after the Irish game, and we got again after the West Indian games, even though we lost. So the impact it's had at home is huge anyway. We've got a very good base coming up nicely, and we've got a very good professional first-class system that's going well at the moment as well. So there is scope for us to become a much better and stronger side over the years. If I take us back a little bit to the end of my playing career, maybe the next few years afterwards, around about the turn of the century, we had a decent side, but we had absolutely nothing behind it. And of course, when that side folded away in 2003 and 4, it was a massive rebuild of everything to do with Zimbabwe cricket to try and get us back to where we are now. Where we are now, once we start climbing the ladder a little bit and playing against the big sides more regularly, I think you'll find us sustaining our cricket abilities for a lot longer.
Is it too early to start talking about your ambitions in the Super 12?
No. I'm happy to talk about our ambitions. I don't want to be unrealistic with the ambitions. Obviously, everybody would sit there and say we want to win it. But, we want to cause some damage. I think for us, if we can take home a couple of big scalps as well, that'd be great. If we could get into the semi-finals, even better. But I'm just looking at one game at a time now.
Hi, Dave. If you look at the 2 sides that have gone through from this group, obviously yourselves and Ireland, this time 12 months ago, both were in pretty poor positions. Ireland had just got a defeat to Namibia. It was mentioned where Zimbabwe were. Ireland have changed their team a lot. You guys haven't. If you look at some of the names that are there, that are performing, Irfan Raza, a lot of these guys, more experienced players. The one thing that's changed is you've come in. So I'm wondering what what have you brought to the program that's maybe a little bit different when you came in? What was your approach in terms of trying to unlock the best of these players?
Well, the first thing is regarding our team. We don't really need to change it at the moment. We've got a really nice blend of experience and youth. So, Raza and today Craig Irvin, the captain, really stood up to be counted through this tournament at the right time. Reggie's done it recently as well. They're our senior players. And, of course, Chitara, who was our best bowler today. These are our senior players. All the rest are ranging from 19 to 24. So we've got years of them to come. A lot of people have asked me what I've brought to the team, and I don't really know the answer to it, to be quite honest, because the only thing I've really done to the guys is I've said that you have the freedom to play and there'll be no repercussions if we make mistakes, because I don't believe you can grow as a cricketer if you're in fear of your own shadow and in fear of playing a bad shot or bowling a bad ball or something. You just can't grow. So that's the only thing we've really done. And the other thing I've done is I've changed our practicing schedules, because Zimbabwean guys have worked really hard to get techniques to where they can compete at this level, but they over practice. So if I leave them to their own devices, they'll practice from 8 until 4 in the afternoon every day of the week. And the problem with that is, by about day 2 of that, the practicing becomes mundane and boring, and nobody's actually going forward. So I've really cut back on our practices. Our practices are a bit shorter and with a bit more quality. And there's days when I won't let them practice at all, because I think energy on the field is more important than hitting a few balls in the net.
I know you mentioned there the approach and a few things you've changed, but your approach as a coach, especially in the shorter format, do you consider yourself an analytical coach? Obviously, you're quite a freeing coach in terms of how you get your players to go about things. But I wonder if you could expand a little bit more about your general philosophy.
Well, I like to combine both. I would consider myself more a tactical coach than an analytical coach, but I like the combination of the two. There are some statistics I think are very relevant and important to me. But I think at the end of the day, I'm trying to encourage our guys to use the best computer on the field, which is the one on their shoulders. And if they're living too much off the computer and the stats man and everything like that, we can't cross the field with them. And then they've got to think for themselves, and they're out of their comfort zone. For me, we do some work most days on the opposition, and that literally keep it to half an hour at a time for the batters and half an hour for the bowlers, where we'll just have a look at what we're up against. And then we talk a little bit of our own tactics and keep it as simple as possible. Actually, we don't have that many team talks.
Is that something that you think was an issue before? The way you said it there hinted maybe that there was a little bit of over-analysis going on?
I think a bit of over-analysis. I think a bit of over-practicing. I think a little bit of repercussions every time we played badly. Then the guys were hauled up in front of each other in the change room and picked out and that. And it's not a recipe for a good side. So there's a little bit more freedom within the side now. The blokes can express themselves, and they've got good skills.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks very much, gents. We'll move on to our online audience. For those who can go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, Dave. Dave, I just want to ask you, you spoke a little bit about like the over-practicing and almost like these repercussions that were there. What sort of mental state did you find Zimbabwe in? And I mean, we can all see that they seem very happy and very confident now. How difficult is it to get guys to go from whatever you found them in to what they are now?
I don't think it was too difficult. I mean, nobody wants to be unhappy. So, to get them to go from unhappy to happy is not all that difficult at all. I mean, honestly, the first thing we did from the time they appointed me as coach is I put them on a bus and took them to a game park. And we had a nice sunset looking at all the game, everything, and having a few beers. And we sat down and we talked a little bit. And, once they realized that, I'm not going to be a person who's going to be standing there pointing fingers and shouting at them all day, I think immediately there was a change in attitude. And, of course, from there we went to Bulawayo for those qualifiers, and the same thing happened at practice. I wouldn't let them practice for more than 2 hours. So suddenly they found themselves with all this energy and actually enjoyment for the game again. So it wasn't a difficult turnaround.
And how do you think you'll manage Sikandar Raza from here? I mean, he's obviously overflowing with passion and he just seems to be giving everything. Just what does he need to do to pace himself for the rest of the tournament?
Look, Raza's a fantastic cricketer and he likes to be on a big stage to show people what a fantastic cricketer he is. And I hope there's a lot of people around the world in franchise tournaments looking, because he's a fantastic match-winning cricketer. I think he wishes he was about 3 or 4 years younger so he could have more fun, but I can tell you that the way he's playing at the moment will keep him going as long as he wants.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.